Good afternoon, everybody. If it looks like I've just come off the tennis court, it's because I have just come off the tennis court. So I'm a little bit hot and flustered, but hopefully it won't detract from today's show. Srihari, how are you doing?
I'm good, John. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. I'm looking forward to today's show. It's about Garbiñe Muguruza. It's somebody who really has been on my radar pretty much constantly for the last 6 or 7 years since she won the French Open, I would say. And to be honest with you, even when she's not on anyone else's radar because she's not doing so well, I'm still keeping an eye out. So when I'm seeing her like about 3 years ago, I think she had a year-end ranking of 35, and we were thinking, what's happened to Muguruza? And she was sort of seemingly down in the doldrums. But then I would say last year was a pretty good year. It certainly set us up for a nice 2022 regarding the Spaniard. So where has it gone wrong, would you say?
Yeah, like we, just spoke about Muguruza and like how you mentioned, she's a pretty up and down player. That's just how her career has panned out. For the last, 6 years. It's been 6 years since she had her maiden triumph at a major.
Yeah.
She beat Serena at the Roland Garros final, and I
Hmm.
clearly remember that because the next day Djokovic went on to win his first Roland Garros title. So that
Yeah.
was a really special weekend for me,
Hmm.
as a huge fan of both players. And yeah, it's been quite disappointing, I would say. I thought, okay, but at the same time, I should say it's not surprising either because she has not really been the most consistent player. Uh, Even during some of her best seasons, she can have some of these really strange losses. Um, I wouldn't say 2019 was really, nowhere close to one of her best seasons either, but I do remember her getting just completely destroyed by Andreescu. I think it was at Indian Wells, it was 6
Okay.
love and 6-1.
Hmm.
And the one thing I remember from that was everybody was surprised that I was surprised by the result, because I really was. But I guess in hindsight it wasn't because obviously Andreescu was a prodigy, and Muguruza's. I think even earlier this year she had a similar loss against Alison Riskin, from 6 love, and I think she was a breakup in the second. I'm not sure if it was a 3 love or 2 love, and she just lost, pretty handily from there. I think it was love 6-6-3, 6-1. Australian Open was largely underwhelming. She was really just completely destroyed by Elise Cornet, and uh, yeah, and also she played a really good match at the U.S. Open, I should say, against Kvitova.
Hmm.
Obviously, Petra was just hammering a lot of forehand down the line winners. Garbiñe was quite passive on some of the match points, but other than that, I'm not sure what exactly was the issue yesterday. I
Yeah.
said I read there was some GI illness. I'm not sure what that stands for.
Okay. No, I'm not
Uh,
sure either. But if it's an illness, then hopefully it's not too
Yeah,
lengthy
I hope
condition.
not. I'm not even sure where exactly she is in the race, but I'm assuming, pretty uh, way down in the rankings because she really hasn't had any significant result this year. She's played some good matches, maybe a couple, but other than that, I think probably her worst season since she became a major champion, or even since she first reached a major final back in 2015, and she lost to Serena there at Wimbledon. Uh, so yeah, it's just
I
really
can tell you where
confused. I'm
she
not
is
sure where
in the
she
race,
goes.
by the way. She's in 48th position, which I
Oh,
think tells you something. Bearing in mind, she ended last year as world number three. She's a
yes.
two times major winner. She has a win loss record, as we said before we went on air, of 12 and 17 this year, having just
Mm-hmm.
had that walkover yesterday, where she was 5 love down to, I think it was Zheng, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mm.
it was yeah, Kim
So I
winning.
mean, this year promised so much. This time last year, I mean, just quickly about her 2021, some standout moments for me regarding her. Although she didn't win the Australian Open, for me, she was in the best match possibly of the entire WTA year in 2021 when she lost to Osaka so narrowly, having had match points. It is something that does concern me with Muguruza, with someone with such an aggressive game that when matches are that tight. But she also had a very similar experience in New York where she lost a super tight match to Krejcikova. We all remember how that match finished with the two of them
Oh
kind of
yes,
wobbling at the net.
yeah, the second set tiebreaker and the really cold handshake with some
Very
words
cold.
being
Yeah.
said by Rabini. Even though I am a fan of Muguruza, I think that was quite unsportsmanlike because you could see Krejcikova was really hampered physically. She was even in tears after she completed the match. So yeah, I think from there, of course, it was not really. Was it the fourth round? Yeah, it was the fourth round. And
Yeah, I
she's
mean both. I
never
mean,
been past the
she's
fourth
not
round.
getting to like the final, the semi-finals, but the year, could have been like that. It was so close to being,
Yes.
she could well have had she could have won the Australian Open. I mean, she was closer to beating Osaka than anyone else.
Yes.
I'm not
And
saying
the
she
year
would have won.
before that, especially that final against Sophia Kenin and
Oh yeah,
2-all
exactly.
love 40. I mean, of course, Kenin played an amazing game, but for Muguruza to not win a game until the end of the match was
Yeah.
quite a letdown. I thought she was going to win it hands down.
There was some double faults, if
I
I remember rightly. I think in that final, and I think she did kind of fall apart in that third set. But she was so close to winning majors in Australia. As I said, in both 2020 and then also to some extent in 2021. I think New York was another one that could have gone either way. I am probably going to disagree with you slightly, Srihari. I understood why. Listen, I think a few weeks later, I would like to have seen her maybe say, "Listen, I apologize that maybe I could have been a bit warm with Krejcikova at the net, but I understand in the moment it's just happened.
Mhm.
It's so frustrating." I remember seeing her while Krejcikova was taking that time out in 2021. When she was off court having some treatment or whatever, I did see her looking more and more agitated while she was waiting for Barbora to come back.
Yeah, that's true.
So I kind of
You can
understand it. I'm not excusing her, but I kind of understand it.
right.
But
Yeah,
then
I understand it as well. Yeah.
Triri, she has an unbelievable end to the year where she ends up winning in Mexico.
Yes, I mean, if I remember correctly, she got absolutely destroyed by Kontaveit in Kremlin. It was 6-1, 6-1 in the quarterfinal. And she beats her pretty handily twice to win the WTA finals.
Yeah,
And I thought, okay, like you said, it's probably, setting up the roadworks or the foundation for this season. You could look past your, result at the Australian Open. You could probably, um, yeah, I mean, she did have some very similar losses during the Sunshine double as well. I mean, the loss was in a very similar manner. And I mean, I'm not sure when exactly this was. Was it the end of 2019 when she got back Conchita Martinez to her team? When I thought,
exactly. Exactly. It was,
okay,
I don't know the exact moment, but it was bringing Conchita Martinez on board, and we've got her sort of highlighted here as we can see as her current coach. It did seem to be she did seem to revitalize her because she was
Mhm.
going through, I know you said that this has probably been her worst year, certainly her most disappointing, I would say, but she has had 6, 12, 18-month periods like this where where she has been in the doldrums. One of those periods, she brings Martinez on board and she's
Mhm.
revitalized, I think, certainly for the 2020 and 2021 seasons. And she doesn't win a major in either of those 2 years. She's a two-time major winner, but that was at the French Open and Wimbledon a few years back. But she's been threatening, and every major going into them, she's in the mix, as we say. But
Yes.
this year, it just hasn't
No.
happened for her.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I'm not sure what would have happened if she did beat Kvitova at the US Open. Uh, but that she could take positives from that match.
I
Uh,
agree. I agree. I thought that might be whether she wins the match or not. I thought that might be a semi turning point, if you like, in her year. I thought she looked pretty good in stages. I mean, beating Clara Towson, albeit I vaguely remember Towson being a bit hindered by a bit of injury, but then
mhm.
going on, okay, she's playing the world number 167. But I thought this was a good start to potentially a good deep run in New York, but it didn't
Yeah,
quite happen. And that tie break against Kvitova, oh,
yes. I mean, there was, like I said, she was really passive on some of the match points, and Petra just went for it and she took it. I think she was the deserving winner for sure.
it's a
But
pity that
that
she
would
went
have been definitely a big boost for her morale, and also, in a way, it would have given her a chance to finally make the quarterfinal or better at the US Open. She's not been past the fourth round.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
so yeah, we it's this year it's just been uh, the case of looking back at some matches and wondering what would have happened if the result went her way. Other than that, she's really not, like you mentioned, contended for any of the big titles really.
Yeah.
Um,
So of
it's
course,
just
last year she beats Kontaveit twice en route to winning the WTA finals. She has a year-end ranking of number 3. And then we go into the year, and to be honest with you, it's not like the year began amazingly and got worse. It really didn't begin well. She had a win against Alexandrova there in the Sydney Classic before she loses to Kasatkina. That doesn't tell us too much, but this probably does. I mean, losing to Alice Cornet, I know Cornet had her best slam result and has probably had her best year on tour since then. But that was a straight sets defeat, and I think it was, it set the tone for the rest of the year, really.
Yeah. Fun fact is that Elise, I think at every slam she beat a Grand Slam champion, if I'm
Oh,
not wrong.
okay.
Yeah. No, I don't remember who it was at Roland Garros. Wimbledon, it was Iga, of course.
Okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I just my memory beats me. But yeah, it's just I'm not sure who exactly she beat, but I do know for a fact that she did beat Grand Slam champions in
Yeah, I've heard that
each of the
before, I think.
slams. Definitely, sort of a late bloomer in that aspect. But of course, I mean, Garbiñe. I mean, being in the form she was in and having the kind of end to the season she had the year before, of course, she should have won that. You could say maybe that loss didn't age that badly because she did. I think she beat Halep in the fourth round, if I'm not
Okay.
wrong.
Okay.
So yeah, but still,
I mean,
sure,
yeah,
sure.
at least Cornet has had an unbelievable year, but for Muguruza, it's still a slight disappointment. Listen, if the rest of her year is amazing, then we don't worry about it too much. But unfortunately, it didn't really get any better as
Yeah.
really the slam results suggest anyway. And also away from the slams. I mean, she's not had a tournament win this year.
Hmm.
She's not won a tournament this year, as far as I'm aware. And as I say, that win-loss record of 12 and 17 for somebody who should be challenging for majors, that's particularly disappointing. She then goes out in Dubai in the second round as well, or last 16. Similar event for her in Qatar. Um, but then the clay court season comes along, and you're thinking, okay, maybe this can be a turning the corner for her once again. I mean, she has won Roland Garros. She is an all-surface player, as her career would suggest.
Yes.
She's won 2 majors on clay and obviously on grass, and she's threatening to win in Australia, as I said before, and really should have done better
So
in New
she
York.
won the WTA finals on a
She's won
hard
the
court as
WTA
well.
finals.
So,
She's really good across all 3 surfaces. And I think for her, if she doesn't win a hard court major, I think there will be a tinge of regret with her career. I mean, she's 29, so there's still plenty of years left in her yet. I mean, we see Serena, still doing pretty well at 40, as it turned out in New York recently. So there's no reason why she can't have another spurt in 2023. But she's very much a confidence player. Would you agree?
yes, of course. Very streaky in that sense, and even a loss or two could just completely make her hurdle down, and that's kind of what I worry about because one of the key aspects of any athlete really is to take losses well. But I don't know if she's really done that, especially in the last few years. And 2020, I don't remember any significant result after the Australian Open from her. Of course, 2021, she did have. I mean, she lost early in RG, if I'm not wrong. She lost to
Yeah.
Kostyuk in the first round. It was not really close
Kai
either.
Kanepi, Kai Kanepi in Roland
Yeah,
Garros.
right. Oh,
It's a
in Roland
tough it's a
Garros.
tough first round, but
Oh, that was this year. I meant last
yeah.
year. Last
Oh,
year was
last year she was
Kostyuk.
first round as well. Last year
Yeah,
she lost in the first round to somebody. I can't think who it was,
it
but
was
yes,
Kostyuk.
2 years in
Yeah.
a row she's gone out in the first round at Roland Garros.
Mhm. Yeah, last year was to Martha Kostyuk. I think it was
Okay.
6-1 and 6-4, if I'm not wrong. It was
Oof.
definitely straight sets. It was not close at all, which was quite shocking because she was, I thought maybe, okay, she played a good tournament at the Australian Open. Unfortunate to have lost to Naomi. Naomi was in red hot form. So it was not really a bad loss, and nobody else really came close to beating her. Um,
Gary
so
has a good question for us both here, Srihari. Nice to see us. Muguruza is sad. It's a sad situation. Is her preparation lacking as a true tennis champion? Is she distracted? Is she focused? Is she? I don't know. I mean, we can speculate, Gary, but I don't have anything. I know she does a lot of commercial stuff.
yes.
Very interesting, by the way, on that point, and it's something that has concerned me certainly with Raducanu as someone so young. I understand it a bit differently with Muguruza as a double major winner and being a bit more established. But very interesting comments from Iga Swiatek recently when she won her first French Open title. she said that she's very pleased with the advice she got from the people close to her, which was concentrate on the tennis, keep the tennis going. Other things will come, the deals will come and the sponsorship will come. But listen, just don't take your eye off the ball. And listen, as a soccer fan, as a football fan, I remember very well the advice that my favorite team, my Manchester United, and the manager Ferguson would always give to the young players, because there were so many examples, and some more prominent than others in the 60s, of where all the fame and fortune would come the way of the young sports person, and they would get distracted, and there would be so many things going on off the court. So maybe just reel in those extracurricular activities a bit, and you can have a much longer career and a much more successful career afterwards.
Right, that's very interesting. Like you
I
pointed
mean,
out.
I
So
know
are the biggest.
Ferguson found it very frustrating with Beckham as well, that Beckham would be off gallivanting around the
Right.
US doing various sponsorship events, when he would
Mhm.
rather have Beckham resting and recuperating and getting ready for the next season, if you like. And we all know how that relationship ended between him and Ferguson. But bringing us back to tennis, I do wonder. It's not like I get it. If you're the world number 150 and you're 30 and you have a run and then suddenly you get a sponsorship deal, I get it. You've got to pay the bills. You don't know when this could be your 5 minutes of fame. I get it. I understand it. But I think with players as talented as Muguruza, and especially as talented as Raducanu and as young as Raducanu, I think you can wait a bit at least until. And Iga's comments really struck me. And I don't know if she was thinking about other players, but she was certainly thinking about herself. And she was saying, I'm so glad I didn't take some of those distractions that I could have taken after winning the French Open in
Yeah,
2020.
definitely boils down to mentality because I think Iga, in her mind, what's most important is that she wants to be the biggest champion on tour. I don't think that's exactly the kind of mentality, Garbiñe or even Emma have. And if you remember, I think it was Raducanu's interview at it was Miami Open or Indian Wells. She said her biggest goal is just to survive this entire season. And verbatim, this is what she said. Even
Hmm.
if I lose in the first round of every tournament, I don't care. I just want to survive this entire season. Um, I think for Garbiñe, sometimes she looks like she's really focused. She's motivated. She wants to win every tournament she plays. And then if you look at her demeanor on court, sometimes it's just
Yeah.
that she doesn't want to be there, and she's once the match is done, she's just like, I'm glad that's over. She
Yeah.
takes her bags, and walks off. So you don't really see that in somebody who wants to be elite, especially for a very long time. Longevity is also a really important factor. If we talk about someone like Naomi Osaka, I think that's one thing that really hurt her, is that she also didn't really, she was not, she even now she doesn't seem like she wants to play anywhere close to an entire season. And obviously, these athletes are not answerable to fans, or probably not even as much to their teams, maybe not, but uh, there is something that's expected of you if you do want to be a really successful champion outdoor. And I
Yeah.
think yeah, that's the one thing maybe she's lacking, because I mean, I would see this often on Twitter. I just tend to not take that too seriously, but maybe people do have a point where she loses, right, either really badly or she just chokes, either way. And then you see her, the next day there's some promo that she's doing, and she's
Yeah.
uploading that on her Instagram story or just her
Yeah.
feed. And everyone is like, oh, she just doesn't care. Like, does she not realize what has just happened, or what is happening? Her career seems to be unraveling at this moment, but she doesn't seem to care about that. All she's doing is our photo shoots. uh, so yeah, I mean, good for her if she's satisfied with how. I mean, she should be. She's been a really successful player, all things said and done. But to the to the public eye, she's always going to be someone who uh, could have maximized her potential a lot more than she has. And I just hope it's not too late at this point. But she has that firepower in her where if she's feeling it on court, she can bulldoze some of the best players on tour, which is what gives me hope for the future if she is to find her fire again. But the season has just been dreadful, and maybe it's best for her if she just plays a few tournaments and just calls it good, because doesn't really look like she's making it to the WTA finals at all. So
No, I wonder if something like the if Spain are Spain in the Billie Jean Cup. I'm just checking now. I mean, I sometimes think a team event can be a nice sort of way out of
mm,
the doldrums sort of thing, and you can go into a
right.
team event. You can be inspired. You can be inspiring. I don't know if Spain are involved in this year's Billie Jean Cup. Maybe Gary in the live chat can mention that. I do just want to address something that Gary's mentioned here, and I think it's a fair point. I don't think outside distractions ever bothered Roger or Novak, for instance. Love what you got to say. I think what I'm saying, though, Gary, is that I think with Roger, Rafa, and Novak, it's still been a staggered thing. Now we see these guys with 5 or 6 big sponsorship deals. I know Rafa has one with Kia. I know Roger, obviously, with Rolex and all the other things, as well as the sports clothing. The clothing, fine. We've all got that, and everyone will have every player in the top 100 will have some sort of clothing deal, etc. But what I'm thinking of is with Raducanu is there's British Airways, there's cars, there's jewelry, there's all of this other stuff,
His
and
Avion
it
as well.
and it doesn't matter if it's a male or a female. I would be giving exactly the same bit of advice. Is stagger it. What? Listen, by the time you're in your late 20s, early 30s, fine. Have 5, 6, 7 big sponsorship deals, insurance, whatever. But I don't want it all to happen when you're 19, and I would rather you were taking your time out, and I would rather you were resting at the times you need to rest and practice at the times you need to practice. That's all I'm saying at someone such as Raducanu's age. But listen, hopefully she'll be getting far better advice than I could possibly give her. Back to Garbiñe though. Listen, we're quite down on her right now. We're down
Yep.
in terms of her year. There is one possibility is that she could just shut down her year, get in a nice training block, get herself ready, maybe get out to Australia a little bit earlier than maybe one or two others, and then just go for it big. She could easily win a major next year, right?
Yes, sure. I mean, if she wanted to, I would say she can definitely contend for one. Not even saying that in a very, what do you call it, in sort of an entitled or arrogant fashion. I think if she really puts her mind to it, if she wants to win, she can put herself in that position. Uh, she's just that good. But and I mean maybe it's not that bad, because no pressure on her, no points to defend either, right? Let's say she finishes barely outside the top 50. She goes into maybe goes into Australian Open unseeded. It's I think it would be better for her than the seeded opponent that she would be facing early on. She could very much draw someone like Srihari or Contavate, or I don't even know where Contavate is going to end up in the rankings. I think she's has she pulled the plug on the season? I'm not sure, but
No, I'm not sure.
right.
But listen, I mean, in a way, 2023 could be like her 2020 Renaissance year, if you like. She
Yes,
could, she could still be seeded, by the way, going into Australia. She's ranked 13 at the moment. She might hang on to a top 30 place before the end of the year. I don't know how that will pan out. It's really close, really, between about world number 3 and world number 50 in the women's. So it could really
yeah,
change
yeah,
anything right now. But and obviously players like Krejcikova on a bit of a run may well overtake her. But this isn't. She could go into that, and so she could get a nice draw in Australia, and then suddenly play her way into some form, and she could win it, despite how good we know so many players are on the women's tour, and despite how many players that have the potential to come back, whether that be Leila Fernandez, whether that be Emma Raducanu, whether that be Naomi Osaka, and some of these other players that have had slightly disappointing 2022s. She's another one who could easily tear it up next year and win a major.
sure.
And then
Yep.
suddenly we're looking at, if she's won it on 3 different surfaces, for example, if she won a hardcourt major next year, then suddenly we're looking at a very different career and a very different scenario.
Yes, because I think Ash Barty, she accomplished that this year, and then everyone's talking about how impressive that is to win a slam on each of the 3 surfaces. I'm not even sure, um, if there is any active player on the WTA tour at the moment who's done that.
No, I don't think so. I mean, Halep won Wimbledon
Yeah,
and
she's not
she's
won
won
a
Roland Garros, I think.
Yeah, she's not won a
So,
slam on a hard court. I mean, she did make the final at the Australian Open
yeah.
2018. That was a pretty famous run in that semi-final against Kerber, where that was an unbelievable match, and then Wozniacki did end up beating her. And yeah, that's sort of what I had in mind when Wozniacki. I think she won the WTA finals in 2017 and then went on to win her first major in 2018. I thought, okay, maybe Garbiñe could put herself, in position as one of the biggest contenders for this year's Australian Open. Uh, nope, she just flat in the second round. I did watch that match. It was just, not a great performance at all. Of course, Courtney was really good that entire tournament, but I thought, okay, there's still three slams left. I mean, first round exits, I think, in the following two, and then saw what happened at the US Open, which, I mean, that's the only tournament really where she can take some positives out of, as far as, if you were to ask me. But
Yeah.
next year, yeah, I hope, she could go into the Australian Open without any pressure on her shoulders, without, what do you call it? Without second
Expectation.
guessing what
Okay.
she's doing. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that she tends to do that a lot, especially when she has a lead, or either it what seems to be an unassailable lead, or in one of those crunch situations like the Sophia Kenin match or the Naomi Osaka match, in consecutive years at the Australian Open. So if she just could rejuvenate, I mean, it's just, I think, best at this point to call off the season, because it looks like she's picked up another illness. Um, so it doesn't look like it's worth it. I don't know if there's any other tournament where she could gain a significant amount of points, considering what tournaments are there to offer and perform as well. So new season, you just never know. So I
Yeah, I'm
just
just
hope.
gonna have a quick look to
Personally,
see if which countries are competing in Glasgow. Have we got Spain there? Yes, we have got Spain. So if she is healthy enough to compete, there's obviously quite a few players that probably won't be there, such as Igor. Of course, we already know, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's somebody who goes very deep in San Diego who might just go, do you know what? I've got to the final in San Diego. I might just stay here in North America and get ready for the WTA finals. Obviously,
yeah.
coming up in Texas in about 4 weeks from now, I think, something like that. So listen, maybe she can come back, play if she is healthy enough, play this Billie Jean Cup in a team event. I've seen so many players in so many different sports that are also individual. Some golfers, for example, they tend to rise in team events such as the Ryder Cup, and can really, perform well. And maybe she can have sort of a little bit less pressure, if you like, in that scenario, playing for Spain in the Billie Jean Cup. That would be nice. And then, just get herself ready for next year, and go full steam ahead for 2023. Listen, Srihari, thank you for joining me. If you're
Thank
watching
you.
right now, make sure you hit that like button and make sure you subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification button as well, so that way you can keep up to date with all things tennis. Srihari, thanks for coming along today, by the way.
Thanks for having me on, John. It was a great time. Hopefully, we
Yeah,
can do
no
this again
worries.
soon.
We've got plenty
Right?
more things to talk about in the near future. I'm sure I'll have
Yeah.
you on again in the next week or two.
Right.
Enjoy the rest of your day. And listen, fingers crossed for Garbiñe for the rest of the year. And maybe it'll be an amazing 2023.
Yeah. Let's hope so. Have a great day as well. We'll see
You
you
too.
soon.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Tennis World. Thanks for stopping by. Take care, everybody.